Station, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
Ready for the event.
Tokyo, this is Mission Control Houston. Please call station for a voice check.
Station, Japanese Prime Minister's office. How do you read Miyagi?
Satoshi, loud and clear. Good evening.
Good evening. Good to talk to you. よく聞こえます、星出さん。
So we hear you very well, Mr. Hoshide.
はい、こちらもよく聞こえます。
We hear you well too. So Prime Minister, please give message to Mr. Hoshide who is on ISS. So this is Yoshihiko Noda, and I haven't seen for a while. Thank you so much for all your efforts aboard ISS. So you've been on space for more than 2 months. How are you feeling?
はい、総理、大変ご無沙汰しております。
Prime Minister, nice to see you. Yes, since the launch for several days, my body took some time to get used to the non-gravity, so I wasn't 100% okay, but since then, my body has fitted well to the environment and I'm quite busy with my tasks. But I'm having really a useful day, and the 6 of us on ISS, we are having a good time on ISS. So the 6 people aboard are having good time. So Americans and Russians are also abroad. So this is a long stay on space, and you are in a real small spaceship. And is there any knack to getting well together amongst yourself? Well, we've been trained to get along, but I think the important thing is to respect each other. We are all different people, but to respect each other is important. And also to help each other is very important. If somebody is having trouble with his task, and if you're free, we also help each other. So we have to be good as a team. And more than anything, we need to enjoy our task, and we need to enjoy our time on ISS. Well, you had the extravehicular activities over 8 hours, and I'm sure that it was a very tense moment. Just having this conversation, I feel quite tense, and all your junior members here, the young people, are also tense. And what were your feelings when you were having these spacewalks? Yes, we had spacewalks twice this time, but for me, this was the first time for me to engage in EVA. This is my second time up in space, but last time I was here, I was in the spaceship, in the station. So this was the first time for me to go outside of the space station. I was quite tense when I opened the hatch and put my head and look at Earth. I was expecting myself to be extremely tense and nervous, but I found myself really quite cool-headed, and I realized this later, afterwards. And this, I think, was because we had such thorough training. We had the training at Houston. We also had training for EVA using a swimming pool. And so we had repeated training. And so I was able to conduct the EVA activities in the same dispassionate, cool-headed manner. But one thing that impressed me greatly was I was on the tip of the robot arm. I was manipulating it, and I moved. And at that time, I I was really at the far ahead of the space station, and in my view, there wasn't even the space station in front of me. All I could see was the Earth and the pitch darkness of the universe. It was a few seconds, a few moments, but that picture was so impressive for me.
Thank you. Can we ask Minister Hirano to give a question? Hello, Mr. Hoshide. Good evening. So thank you for your mission representing Japan. I have two questions. One is, so this is your second flight. Last time you stayed for 2 weeks, and this time you are there for 2 months. So this is your second mission, and probably you have different impression from your first flight. So what is your impression this time? My second question is, you built the Kibo, and probably Kibo is developing. How is Kibo progressing? And lastly, are you drinking alcohol in space?
はい、そうですね。前回、2週間のシャトルミッション、私にとっては初めてでしたので、宇宙
my mission was 2-week shuttle mission, and that was my first time in space. And I was wondering how my body would be affected in space, how my body would adjust to space. I wasn't sure. And in the space shuttle, I didn't really understand how it would be. I knew only from the training, so it was an unknown environment. This time, the space station, I know how it is, especially in the Kibo, the pressurized section. I knew already what it was like. I've seen it already, so it was like almost coming home. That was how I felt at launch. And actually, when I was on the space station, I felt like I'd returned home. And inside the space station, especially in the pressurized section, the last time when I was here 4 years ago, the pressurized Kibo section was really new. And just when we put the equipment on, we returned Earth. And Mr. Ogata and Mr. Furukawa, and they stayed for a long time, and they conducted various experiments. And so, in a good sense, the pressurized section have become a bit old, or it was utilized. And as to your third question about the alcohol, unfortunately, it is non-drinking. The alcohol is not prohibited. Sometimes I long for beer, but I guess I'll just keep that for some enjoyment when I return to Earth. In the future, we would like many people to come to space, and I hope that drinking will be allowed.
So, Minister Furukawa, please. Hello, Mr. Hoshide. Nice to see you again. I'm the Minister of State for Space Policy. After you arrived at the space station, the Japanese Konotori, the HTV-3, the transfer vehicle was docked with the space station, and all the supplies were safely and effectively unloaded in the space station. I'd like you to tell us how you felt when it arrived. I also understand that the Konotori is now trying to separate from the space station, and how is the work going on along that line? Yes. 2 weeks after we arrived at the space station, the Konotori arrived at the space station, bringing the various supplies, everything that we need for our everyday life, various agents and materials that we need to conduct the experiments and others. And together with other astronauts, we brought these things to the space station. We were able to do it in a smooth manner. And after that, all the unnecessary debris that we had accumulated, they had to be transferred to Konotori. And today, precisely, we are going to be separating Konotori from the space station. Immediately before we started this event, it was safely separated, and now Konotori is being moved for the separation spot by using the robot arm. And Joe Akaba and myself will be using the robot arm to finally separate the Konotori from the space station. For about a month, the Konotori was attached to the space station, and I was able to see it very well from a window called Cupola. Now, I feel a bit lonely not being able to see Konotori from that window anymore. Today, we have school children from where Mr. Hoshide attended schools. So, my name is Iroha Honda. There are so many things, such as air and gravity on Earth, which do not exist in space. Could you tell us some other things in space that do not exist on Earth? I would be glad if you would give some impressive items.
なかなか難しいお題をいただきましたね。そうですね。宇宙にあって
That's a difficult question. Well, something that exists in space but doesn't exist on Earth, well, maybe my answer would be similar to what you just mentioned. Would be, well, in space we have non-gravity, which you don't have on Earth, and another thing is we have a viewpoint to look at the Earth from outside. Earth is round, and we can see that roundness from space, which you can't see from Earth. It's very important to see things from the outside. Like if you're living in Japan for many years, and if you don't understand something, you might become aware of some of those things if you are abroad. I myself experienced that. So similarly, if you go outside of Earth, you could get to know Earth even better. Osawa-san, please. Hina Osawa is my name. How is your physical condition in space as compared to your condition on Earth? Does the non-gravity disrupt your physical condition somehow?
そうですね。無重力になって、最初の
Yes, non-gravity. The first few days, yes, I felt my head very heavy or stuffed nose, and I felt quite tired. I wasn't 100% fit, but now I've become accustomed to this, and I feel as if I've been living in this non-gravity condition all through my life. I feel extremely well. It's Hikari Iso. Have you thought of anything that you think would improve life aboard ISS?
That's
a good question. As the minister asked, well, I wish there was alcohol abroad, but if we had bath or shower, it would make our life more comfortable. We're using shampoo that doesn't need rinsing, and also we put soap on towel and we wipe our bodies, but we can't immerse ourselves in bath or we can't have shower. So if we had bath or shower, it would make our life even more comfortable. As for diet, we lack fresh vegetables or fruits. We hardly ever do. When we have the HTVs, for a few days after the arrival, we can have fresh vegetables or fruits, but otherwise we eat space food. So if we can cultivate those vegetables in space, it would make our lives more comfortable.
Sakaguchi-kun. Tomoki Sakaguchi is my name. Mr. Hoshide, you've been aboard a space shuttle, and I saw you as well. What are their respective good points?
はい、そうですね。アメリカのスペースシャトル、そしてロシアのソユーズ。
Yes, I've been on the American space shuttle and on board Russian Soyuz. both of them. But both of them carry people on board. They have the similar system in that sense. In the case of Space Shuttle, 7 people, astronauts, can go in it, and you can do so many things. The Space Shuttle itself can become an experimental laboratory and release a satellite by using the robotic arms and so forth. And Russian Soyuz, when compared to that, it's a 3-man vehicle. It's a smaller one, but it transfers human beings to the space station and bring them back to Earth in a safe manner. It has a lot of good track record. Both of them, it's pleasant to ride in it. But one thing I have not experienced yet is that Soyuz, when you land in the space ship, something I had not experienced yet, and so that could be a rough landing. Mr. Furukawa, I understand, has experienced it. I cannot really say which one is better, which one has better features. The thing is that both of them fulfill their respective roles. They have very good systems, both of them.
Keitaro Kasahara. Living in a non-gravity environment makes your bones fragile. Have you noticed or felt any changes in your body during your stay in space?
はい、骨とか、筋肉、特に骨はですね、
Well, the bones and muscles are affected. It's difficult to notice how it's affected. As for muscle, I do exercise every day. But if I just take a rest for one day, I can feel that my muscles are a bit different. And what I notice most is the stimulus on my feet. If I run on the running machine, it's the sensation on the bare foot, and I feel like if it's a bit numb on the machine. So I feel that the body is becoming used to the non-gravity and is not affected so much.
My name is Natsumi Sakuma. Now, CO2 accumulated within ISS, what do you do with it? Do you throw it out of ISS?
はい、ISS それからスペースシャトル、
Yes,
先日行った
ISS space shuttle and the extravehicular mobility unit, all of them, of course, the human beings breathe in oxygen and breathe out CO2. When the CO2 got accumulated, it's not good for human beings, so you have to get rid of that CO2. It's not as if you will throw it outside immediately, directly. You will be using various equipment, and scientifically you will eliminate it. You do not throw out CO2 directly outside.
Prime Minister Noda, could you please give a word of encouragement? Well, so you are at the forefront of the International Space Development Corporation on board ISS. So I hope you carry out your responsibilities aboard, and I hope you will come back to Earth safely.
Mr. Hirano, please, words of encouragement to Mr. Hoshide. Yes, you are representing our country in your mission, so please come back with great deal of achievement, and see you in Japan.
And Minister Furukawa, well, your activities representing the whole Japan is really a great hope for the Japanese people, especially for the children. We really hope that you will carry out your mission safely.
So, the young people, please. Mr. Hoshide, see you back on Earth.